Morning, everybody. Happy race day. I had a little bit of extra time today, so wanted to go ahead and record an Xfinity video, get a quick picks video out for everybody. So we got a night race at Martinsville. So looking forward to tonight. If you want to help us out, how can you do that? You can like, comment, share, retweet our content. It allows us to reach more people. If you like what we do here at Fast Cars, Fast Money, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It's always been a goal of ours to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Slowly but surely, we are climbing closer to that goal. If you want access to the spreadsheet yourself, follow us on X. It's at Fast Cars FM. And then lastly, if we've helped you out in any way, have a good weekend. You just want to say thanks, show your appreciation. Sending a couple dollars here or there is a great way to do that. So let's look at the race preview and initial thoughts. So we're going to Martinsville. Martinsville is similar to Bristol in the fact that it's a short track. So there's a lot of dominator points that are up for grabs. We got 113 basically for fast laps and basically 63 for laps led. So the focus is really going to be, who do we think can be a lap leader? How do we get those lap leaders into our lines? And then how do we build around those lap leaders to give us hopefully the best chance of hitting the cash line tonight. Um, as we saw in the truck race, what we typically see is the number of cautions increases as we get closer to the end of this race. With it being a short track, everyone is kind of jammed together, bumper to bumper. You're going to see people pushing people out of the way. Sometimes it just gets stupid, and that can really tilt the slate one way or the other. So, don't be afraid of some place differential plays for that reason as well. But most of my builds today, um, with Chandler Smith, it's a little interesting, but most of my builds have at least, one, two, maybe even three dominators in my line, someone who I think can get out front, lead laps, run fast laps, and then building around them with some of these place differential or value options that are a little bit cheaper on the slate. So let's get to the driver by driver breakdown here. You got Chandler Smith, Eric Almirola, Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer, and Sheldon Creed up there in our 10K, 11K range. Now, the elephant in the room is Chandler Smith. He had an issue in practice, was not able to take a qualifying time, so he starts in the rear. He offers a ton of place differential upside. We know this car is going to be ready to go come race day. We know how strong this team is. He could potentially still be a lap leader. He could potentially still, contend to win this race. However, starting this far in the field, if you are playing Chandler Smith, I would advise pairing him with a driver that starts closer to the front of the field that maybe can lead, stage one or maybe even, part of stage two until potentially Chandler Smith's going to come through. We know he's going to have a top 10 car. We know he's going to score well. He's just expensive. So if you are playing him, you might be sacrificing potentially another lap leader in your line, but Chandler Smith just has huge, huge upside. It's hard to ignore that ceiling. Then you got Eric Almirola, Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer, and Sheldon Creed. For me, looking at practice, I really like Allgaier and Custer. Because they have the best long run cars. If you looked at the 10 lap, the 15 lap, the 20 lap, the 25 lap, the 30 lap average, it was Allgaier in P1 and then Cole Custer just slightly behind him in P2 for every single one of those metrics. So we know they have good cars. They should be good on the long run. The nice thing about Cole Custer is with Brandon Jones going to the rear of the field, Cole Custer is actually going to be the control car for this race. So he has a great chance to lead early, get out front, and kind of get that clean air, be that early lap leader. And then we know how good Allgaier is on the short flat track. So for me, I really like Smith and then pairing him with an Allgaier and or a Custer. But I don't want to ignore these JGR cars either. These JGR cars are fast. I do prefer Eric Almirola over Sheldon Creed if I had to pick between the two. Almirola was third and fourth in most of those lap averages that we were just talking about in practice. So he wasn't that far behind Allgaier and Custer. Eric Almirola is good talent, and JGR is really good on these short flat tracks. So I'm going to have at least two, if not three, of pretty much all of these 10K drivers in my lines. I don't mind Sheldon Creed. I might bump him down below. I'm not getting to him a ton compared to the other drivers, but he still has a fast car, and his upside is is definitely there. So he's a little bit more of a tournament play. Sammy Smith, I think, might be hard to get into lines. He did get a little bit of extra track time by running the truck race, and he also gives you some place differential upside. So while I would still prioritize the lap leaders, in the 10K range, not all of them are going to hit per se. Not all of them might get out front lead laps. Maybe only one or maybe only two hit. If you're able to nail those one or two drivers, then maybe you compare them, with Sammy Smith to get a little bit different and also to, kind of differentiate your line. And then Sammy Smith has a relatively, I don't say easy path to hit value, but there's a lot of upside there with Sammy Smith. Mayer's usually historically has been pretty good at these short tracks. He hasn't had a great start to the season, so I'm not really getting to him a ton. He's kind of like Cole Custer, or not Cole Custer. He's kind of like Sheldon Creed for me, where he's not really a target, but I still want to get to him in GPPs, depending on how many lines you're building. And then I'm not really getting to the RCR cars of Jesse Love and Austin Hill that typically, historically, aren't great on these short flat tracks, and they kind of back that up with their practice and qualifying runs. My fear is they're just going to stall out there. So I'd much rather pay up for Sammy Smith or even pay down for Riley Herbst or AJ Allmendinger. I like both these plays a lot. Riley Herbst you can think is more of a place differential option. He's a lot cheaper than Sammy Smith, which is helpful. Didn't have great practice or qualifying times, but we know this car is better than a 22nd place car. And as the race goes on, they should be able to work on it, especially with how fast Cole Custer was. I'm hoping that they'll be able to, take some things that Cole Custer was doing right and maybe apply that to Herbst's car, even to, just give him a little bit more speed. I see AJ Allmendinger stepping back in to the colleague machine. He starts 15th. Getting AJ Allmendinger for $8,700 at Martinsville is pretty good. So I really like AJ Allmendinger today. Didn't run a lot of laps in practice, but those laps were decently quick. Really like getting to him at his price. You got Carson Wappel, I think is how you pronounce his last name there. He starts 12th. Not really a target play for me. We know he's going to be fast. I don't know how much really upside there is. You got Brandon Jones, who has a fast car. He scored from the first position. However, we do know he's going to the rear of the field. So he's going to start with negative points to start the race. And it's Brandon Jones. So I don't think he's going to be able to get all the way out front, lead you laps. I'm not really interested there. Really, really like Taylor Gray. I have him in a lot of my lines. A, because of the equipment that he's in, and B, the price and what he showed at Richmond too. I mean, he was pretty fast. We know these JGR cars are good. So getting a JGR car for $8,000, starting 16th, I don't really care who the driver is. I'm going to be interested. Corey Heim, it should be good. When we've seen good drivers in this Sam Hunt Racing equipment, we've seen that car, advance into the top 15, into the top 12, even running inside the top 10. I think Corey Heim is capable of doing that. I wouldn't go crazy playing him, but I'm very interested. I also like Parker Kligerman. He can almost be viewed as like the third RCR car, but he's a lot cheaper than Sammy Smith, or not Sammy Smith, geez, than Jesse Love and Austin Hill. So some pretty good value there. So I like Kime, I like Kligerman. I really like Josh Williams as well, just because he's the cheapest and starts the furthest back, and he's in good equipment. We've slowly but surely have seen him advance, kind of improve on the just terrible start of the season that he's had. Parker Retzlaff, I'm not really getting to a ton. He's shown flashes of speed, starting 13th. It's just a little bit risky. SVG, typically guys that are good on road courses are pretty good at Martinsville. He hasn't been here before. So this is just a learning season for him. So DFS wise, I think he's in play, but again, I might have him in just one line. Matty D starts 14th. Good to see him back in the series. The concern is where he starts and the equipment that he's in. I don't know if that equipment's going to hold up for the entire race, and even if it does, I don't really realistically see how much further he can advance his position. I'm not really getting to see Burton or Alfredo pretty much for the same reasons. They just start too far forward to the front of the field. And when I look at the field, I look at the other drivers that are to come through, I don't see them maintaining their positions. Clements and Weatherman, I think, are fine. Clements didn't run a lot of laps in practice, which is concerning, but he can easily contend for a top 20, which will be decent, at his price. Weatherman usually shows good speed early on in the race, but as we get, further in the stage two, further in the stage three, that's usually when we start to see this car falling off a little bit, or maybe even starting to have some issues. So a little bit of a riskier play there. I think, there's some good value options down here in the 5K range. Haley Deegan starts 27th, starts mid pack, I think finishes mid pack. I could say the same thing about Kyle Sieg. Then we get to the 5K range. So my favorite punt plays today are going to be Brennan Poole, Dexter Bean, Logan Bearden, and then all the way at the bottom of the slate there, Dawson Cram. I kind of like these drivers for different reasons. So, Logan Bearden showed he was the 17th quickest in practice, which is pretty good for a driver that's $5,300. He didn't run a lot of laps, but the laps that he did run were fast. And he starts really deep in the field. So, even if he doesn't show that speed in the race, through pure attrition in his price, he should be able to easily, score good enough for you as a punt play, especially if it allows you to pay up to get other top, options into your lines. Dawson Cram's pretty much the same. Not as fast, but he's $4,500 starting 32nd, and he really allows you to kind of stack, some of the heavy top of the slate plays. Dexter Bean's kind of in that same boat, not the best equipment, but pretty good times compared to the other drivers he's priced around, and he starts deep. And then Brennan Poole is probably the most risky of them just because he starts 24th, but he had, pretty good speed compared to the other cars down here. So those are really my favorite punt plays. I think you can also get to Perkins and Snyder. I kind of just mix and match my punt plays here. Most of my lines have one of these drivers in my lines, depending on how crazy I'm getting with the top of the slate. Sometimes I might double punt, but for the most part, I'm really only getting one of these plays in my line. Then I'm not getting the Smithley, I'm not getting the Ellis, Gase, Honeyman, Ogata. I don't really think you need to go there. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully it is. But yeah, that's our Xfinity, driver by driver breakdown. We do have Cup Series qualifying today, so most likely once that wraps up, I'll record the video probably late at night or something, and kind of get it out in the morning when people are building lines. But thank you guys. Hope you guys have a good Martinsville race, and catch you on the next one.